They say sometimes home is where the heart is.
Hey everybody, welcome to Strong Soul Stories, and we have a very, very special guest. And it isn't the potato man who calls the action. It is actually someone who has survived various incarnations of the LA Dojo and has had probably the biggest career I've ever seen. On his Wikipedia page, it takes up 90% of the internet. It is TJP, ladies and gentlemen. Hello.
Hey, it's funny. I read so Bret Hart's book is like the size of the Bible.
Yeah, yeah, it
Uh,
is. It is.
I read it front to back. It's a great book for anybody that wants to pick a book. If you haven't read it, it's fantastic. But I in the course of reading it and physically, you're like, wow, this is a really big book. But then I think about it, and it's like, well, okay, he's been going since like the late '70s, so of course it's going to be long. He's done all these things. And then it occurred to me later because people would ask, I get older, people would ask me like, will you ever write a book or something someday? Like Danielson wrote a book and like people like from my generation have started writing their stories or whatever. I never thought I was important to do that. But then when I thought about, God, if I ever did, I would be like Bret Hart's book. Like there's so much crap. I wouldn't know what to take out of it because it's like it's just one thing led to another, and then all of a sudden damn near
Well,
30 years went
you
by.
do. You got to do like Jericho does and do it in 4 or 5 installments. That he's a very smart, intelligent businessman. You got to. You
Yeah,
don't
he's
do
gonna
the
get
big. You,
yeah, we'll get multiple what do you call it?
yeah, multiple book
Bestsellers
deals.
out of it.
Well, hopefully, the strong style stories element is basically, it's any sort of anything you want that happened on the road and stuff. But also, you're in a really incredible position because you not only graduated from the LA Dojo, you came back and did various other tours, but in between that, you've done some. I wasn't kidding. That Wikipedia page is huge. That's 22. There's 22 years of just and you forget just how involved were in pretty much everything. I think the only glare I was like, there's got to be a glaringly obvious like company as I work for. I was like, maybe NWA, but nah. I was like, mate, I
And
was
some
like, I can't find anything. Like it's incredible.
um Noah. I never wrestled for Noah.
Yeah, yeah, we'll get you.
Yeah, actually, recent developments might
Yeah.
change that.
Noah's changing things. They're asking lots of different questions. So maybe because I always wondered why. I know labeled as a junior. And we were talking offline about how influenced by Shibata is, and you said it doesn't really show, but for me it does make loads of sense, and I've always wondered why. Well, when speaking to Kevin, I've stopped wondering why, but because of how they treat the juniors. But why do you think that you were never that next step up, or did they just have you in that place as a junior and that was it?
No, like next step up as in going
Going,
outside vision.
yeah,
Um,
going up. Even just
you know,
then they put that never in the place, and
I
I
you
was like,
know,
that's perfect for you.
I don't know. There's probably a lot of things that because multiple people make those decisions, and especially these days. When I was younger, the office was different, but I also wasn't like fully matured, so being a junior was just what I was. And now that it would probably be the time, the office is different. Some of the office is, like for lack of a better description, not wrestling people, and so there's so many people making those decisions. So there's some people that probably look on paper and they're like, well, this guy's a certain age, but then they don't put a face to that and realize, well, this is me at 39, 40, whatever is not the same as like, somebody else at 39, 40, 41, whatever. And then, some people are old fashioned. They're like, you got to be a giant and be really big. But on the flip side of that, this generation of Japanese heavyweights, they're really not that big anymore. Like
Yeah,
Jay White's like about the same weight as me, and he's only like 2 inches taller. He was a heavyweight. Finn Balor, Fergal Devitt, he moved up to heavyweight. He's literally the exact same size as me. There's not a lot of Nakanishis anymore. Like Makabe was pretty big. Okada's really tall, not particularly heavy, but pretty tall. But everybody else, like, Naito, Tanahashi, they're all eye to eye with me. They're a bit heavier, but I guess I'm just Filipino like that.
Yeah, you're nimble.
But there's a lot of little reasons why. I think another really big reason is that I didn't have a long-term guaranteed contract. So, from a business perspective, it's an investment thing. So I always tell a lot of young wrestlers when they're going in someplace, I always tell them, remember, whatever you walk in the door as, that's going to be a number, and that number represents what you are to them. And they're like, this industry is not like, becoming a plumber or like some other trade where there's like a lot of promotion from within, because once you're in, you're good at it, and then they want to keep moving you up because they trust you and all that. Wrestling, this industry is not like that. When you come in the door, they're like, oh, this is all we have to commit to you. We're never going to commit more than that to you. So then we only have to use you as much as that. And then, once in a generation, there's a few exceptions to that rule, because they do have to pick like one or two guys that it's like, okay, we really have to replace the old guys with this guy, so that's when you get like, your John Cena replaces your Brock Lesnar, who replaced your Rock or whatever, and who replaced Steve Austin. But this is like one person in a generation will get that exception. Most people, they don't really get promoted from within that much. You grow old in the company and graduate in certain ways, but a lot of times it comes down to what the commitment was, especially for like foreigners. So I think my being kind of freelance status the whole time, it like kind of made it so like, well, if we overcommit, then we can't get that back, because we can't.
It's that fear. It's sort of it's something we've touched on the episodes, is that there is like the quite small c conservative, where they're a little bit, it's sort of a Japanese thing. It is risk averse, which is why I found New Japan World so crazy, because I was like, what? This is the opposite. I've got to give my credit card number to some weird place in.
Well, I'll give a perfect example of that in the contemporary sense. So David Finlay, Jeff Cobb, like, we're friends for a long time, and for a long time it felt like Jeff would be frustrated with certain opportunities, but other guys that were there with the same tenure would kind of get them, and it was like, I think he felt self-conscious, like, what am I doing wrong? And I would tell him, like, it's not you, it's that, like, they know Zach isn't going anywhere. He's locked down, he's committed, he never wants to leave Japan. David, like, same deal for a while, until now. It's like there was never a question that he would leave. He was there, locked down, everything was great. And I was like, with you, they could see you going other places, and they know that you want eventually to have other goals in wrestling. You might work, like now he's in WWE, for example. And I would tell them, like, they can't, in their mind, they're not going to commit past a certain point because they're worried you're going to leave. And other guys, they're not worried that they're going to leave. And so it's not a indictment on your ability. It's really just a circumstantial thing from business. And I think that plays a factor with me too. Like, even as a junior, I never, they would put me in important roles that could be taken up by other people if I were to leave. So, like, for example, Catch 2-2, really big deal. They
absolutely.
gave so many opportunities. They pushed us further than quite frankly anybody thought junior tags would ever be. Like, we turned it into one of the most important divisions in the company because I consistently stayed there. But if I were to leave, it's okay because Akira's still there. So it's like we could put him in that spot, but I think they would be hesitant to be like, okay, like, best of the Super Junior, then junior singles, like all that stuff. It's like, well, what if he leaves?
Yeah, it's booked by the tour, and and it's also, what if he leaves whilst also not giving you a reason to stay? It's one of those sort of,
So that
I think,
and
half
that's
pregnant.
something.
It's that half pregnant thing. It's like you can't be half pregnant. Like you're either
Yeah,
all or not.
exactly. So like, and that's, I think, in a nutshell, what the frustration I think that people are starting to see come out. Like before, it was very much more kept under the surface. You would only know if you were there. Now it's becoming more public viewing that they see this. Like what? Like why are people leaving? Why is there so much office movement? Why is there so much roster turnover? And it's like, because this is what everybody is sort of going through, is like some people are, their commitment didn't warrant certain results, so then they felt like they didn't want to continue committing, which in turn caused them to not want to give more results. And then it's like this weird tug of war where it's like, well, I would like to do more, and they're like, we would like more commitment. And then it's like, well, I don't want to commit if I'm going to be stuck. And they're like, well, we need you to be stuck in order to commit.
Yeah,
And
and
it's,
and I think they rely on their.
I can't blame them, and by them I mean I don't blame any of the boys for being frustrated, but like I can't blame the office either, because that's business. They have to protect the line mark is the most important thing. No single person is bigger than the logo that's behind you, and so they have to protect that, and so it's justified. But that is the source of it's the simple wisdom behind why people are seeing what they're seeing. It's honestly just everybody has to make an individual decision now, is all.
Yeah, but what they've done is they've done really. I think that probably, I don't know how you'd quantify it, but sort of the Naito getting moved down the card was very a lot. What he was offered allegedly and stuff. It feels like that was them saying, dude, you're not doing physically great. Let's keep you here, but don't. And he was like, no, I can still go, and I completely understand. But when you look at it, sometimes they are trying to do the kind of thing. And actually, I think the way that they phase people out, Kevin said that you never really get fired; you just get phased down until you leave, unless you're freelance, in which case they'll just stop calling.
If you, they're kind of like a family in a way. If you come in to the company in a certain formal sort of way, like I came in through the dojo system. I was a young lion there. When you get scouted and you're a young lion, not just like a guy that came, like if they go and get somebody that was from Noah or All Japan and bring them in, and then they're part of the roster, they could be there for 20 years and they're not going to necessarily be family. It really doesn't matter what they do. They could be world champion for 10 straight years and carry business, and they'll still be like, well, you weren't really our child. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And same thing with the gaijin. Like, there's a big difference between gaijin that come in, like, say, Benoit, or like me, like they go into the dojo system, Prince Devitt, and then like other gaijin where it's like, oh, this guy got a tour because he was big in Ring of Honor or in Rev Pro or something, and then it's like, okay, they grew him into something. If they leave and try to come back later, they might not have the same connection. Whereas like if you were like a dojo boy or something like that, you could literally have a complete falling out. You could get fired and they'll still be like, okay, at some point we do have to open our doors to him again later in the future. You know what I mean?
Well, that's like that's Yoshi Tatsu for you, and that's why I reached out to you, because we told a story that Kevin told a story that you've told him, which was about the Yoshi Tatsu getting in a little bit of a fight with, and for us it's a fridge, but for you guys, you go the full refrigerator. You ain't cutting that down. So he basically got the head in door element, and I think I think that is you were a part of the dojo, you had a career for life, you left, but as you said, the open door policy is we will take you back and see what we can do, and I feel like that's a fairly new thing, because I think people, although having said that, they got Shibata back, but from what Kevin said, it's like that wasn't very popular with anyone.
So, I mean,
Because
that's a great example. I mean, that's a very rigid scenario between two sides, but still the doors were open for him to come back, no matter how much questioning or anything. It's like an obligation for them to take care of their kids, essentially. Like anytime I've ever come back, no matter when I left, the first time I left in Japan, I got fired. I got fired by Ken Kashin. He took over booking for the junior gaijin and became head coach at the Inoki Dojo, and he took issue with a lot of things and people. We didn't have anything personally that was wrong, but a lot of guys got purged at that time. I remember Danielson left because of money. He got mad that he was going to take a pay cut. Ricky Reyes left because they had some tension with him when he had an injury and then missed some bookings, and then they kind of did him unfairly. That kind of really irreparably changed his career. He would have been really great. He still is really great. Even Rocky Romero got fired when and then it was like, a few years later, literally just running into Hattori at, I think, Ring of Honor, and he was like, hey man, come back for Super Juniors. We need a guy for this, and it was just like, as if I had never been fired because I'm one of their kids, And then it's like I left again. I didn't stick around. I went to TNA, WWE, and like I didn't pick up the phone for them essentially. And then later on down the road, I was like, now I'm out of WWE, and then it was like, hey, come do the J Cup, come back and do New Japan, and I was there full time. It's like they're just, once when you make that connection initially, that's just what it is, like, for life.
Yeah, you've got that. You're labelled as a graduate, and I say it's still the best training system in all of pro wrestling. Just for the results, is insane. I mean, that the class that you were in, and it's not, you're up there, like you were saying, Rocky Romero, but then Samoa Joe, Danielson, Danielson obviously had that training with Shawn Michaels, and it's quite an incredible. When you look at the people that have come out of the dojo and the careers that they've had, it's insane, and it's sort of unrivaled. Like, no one is coming out from, a wrestling school and doing as well as they're doing with that same level and longevity, just because, it's a focused, it's a great machine to have, because they're making their own talent, but at the same time they're also training them to be a worldwide pro wrestler.
It's like the military. CMLL's system is similar. Everything is very disciplined and detail oriented, and it's very disciplined. So yeah, I mean, even the worst products of those two training systems are exceptional products anywhere else in the world. Like we were just talking about Yoshi Tatsu and his run-in with the fridge. So in my dojo class, there was me, there was Taguchi, there was Goto, Nakamura, who was special because of his amateur and freestyle career, so he became a star immediately. So he was really not with us a lot. Then there was Yoshi Tatsu, and then there was two others, a volleyball player named Nagao, and he didn't last long. Shortly after graduation, he quit. And another named Anzawa, he was a junior size, and same thing. Shortly after graduation, he quit. His passion was actually culinary. He opened up a restaurant. He was really big. He loved cooking. So usually in the dojo, you split up all the chores. When you sweep, you learn to cook and everything. So I learned to cook and the chanko and all that. But it was nice because our class had these uniquely carved out roles for certain people that we didn't have to completely share all the things. So, like, for example, most of us, even though we learned to cook, we didn't have to, because Anzawa cooked all the time. All he ever wanted to do was cook. So that was great because we didn't have to cook. On the other side, we didn't have to take a lot of ass beatings because Yoshi Tatsu fucked up everything all the time. So he took all the ass beatings. So that was great because it was like, we did have kind of a class of killers. Like, people don't if you're not old enough to see like early prime Taguchi wouldn't know he's incredible. He's like the best wrestler in the world. He's so good. And so like we had this class of excellent guys. Everybody was really, really good. So like Yoshi Tatsu was the worst of the bunch, but he's an excellent wrestler. But because
and he's still going, and
he's excellent. He's so good. It's just that he was in a class of people that didn't fuck up as much as him.
Yeah. I have the thing of, I think I'm terrible at football. I will translate soccer. Because hey, it's the Americanism. It's the soccer guy.
If I hear the word football, but it sounds like it's said with an accent with a mouthful of marbles, I know you mean soccer.
Oh, good times. I've got a mouthful.
But if I hear football and it's Southern drawl, then I know it's American football because it's coming from yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Football. Yeah.
Football.
I've got it. But football, no, I thought I was absolutely terrible because I was in a class of people that were just they were kids on the books of Premier League teams, and I just thought that was normal. And then
you think that's
you realize no, that isn't. Not that. No one, like, we had like a third team, and I was like the goalkeeper, and we had people, and one of, like, just absolutely insane, just like how that is, and it obviously not at the same level, but it reminded me of your class in the fact that you forget
it's a relative thing in life. You think you're great in elementary school, then you go to high school and you're like, wow, look at all these people, I'm not cool at all. Sort of, or vice versa. It goes the other way. Maybe it's like, oh, I'm a loser in this school, and you go and say, oh wow, I'm actually the older kid in class here. Everybody follows me. But yeah, no, that was the dynamic. So yeah, Yoshi Tatsu, despite being a fantastic wrestler, took the brunt of the beatings because we were just a little bit more disciplined than he was, so it was okay.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, and I can imagine that. I mean, so one of my like things, I was like, Kitamura's like you can't miss that guy. That guy's insane. And then you're like, no, he slowly goes down, and it was an element of like the discipline and stuff. And what I liked about seeing stuff that they're not putting rocket pats on to people that they don't think are ready. And I feel like that's something that the dojo system is very strong and very disciplined with, because it's very easy to do it. You just see a guy, you strap him up and go crazy.
Well, the funny thing about that is like when they have people in the dojo system, they're really good about not doing too much too soon with them if they're not ready. But then others, if they sort of bypass the dojo system, or they're only in the dojo system as a temporary, and then they're not really in a proper class. Usually this is the case with like gaijin or something like that. Then their decision making ends up going the opposite way, where they're like, yes, let's put a rocket on him. And it's like, you did not know he was not ready for that yet. And to this day, they still make those decisions where they'll push a little too hard, a little too fast with guys simply because they were never really a full-time dojo system guy. Like, they either never were at all, or they were just for like a little bit, like it's like formality, and then they're like, yeah, sure, just move on. And it's like, no, wait, you didn't break this kid. Like, because that's the thing about the dojo system is like it's literally is like the military. It breaks you. They literally break you and reshape you. So like when people only spend a cup of coffee there, or they only do it for like 6 to 8 months or something like that, they don't get that, and so they're not a proper product. And then sometimes that's when you see the ones that are like, oh, this was too fast, too soon, because they didn't know the filter was not applied.
How long would you say is a good time to be in that dojo? You were 2001, 2005? Is that about right? Or was there some...
So about that, because even after you graduate, like they don't always do a Young Lions Cup. It kind of depends on class size. Like they just did one. It's been a long time.
Yeah. There was only like when I started, when there was on New Japan World, there were a lot of Young Lions, and then suddenly none, like 3 or 4. So it's
so the funny thing about it is like that the back end of it, it's not like a rigid okay, like you're a Jedi now. Like that's not
Yeah,
like
yeah,
it doesn't go like that. Like you get to where you kind of graduate, maybe you're able to sort of choose a character. You've gone through your excursion. Maybe your generation was big enough to have a Young Lions Cup, but you still kind of like are in the dojo. Like it's almost like you get weaned off of it. Like
yeah,
you're still living there. You're still doing the training. There's just guys now that are underneath you that you're sort of like trying to help them up the ladder a little bit before you're fully like, okay, I'm not in the dojo anymore. I'm not in this system anymore. I'm now just full time on the road. Like there's sort of a postgraduate buffer where for a
yeah,
while, so there's really no set time. I mean, you could be in your class, you could be part of a class that's in progress and you'll be in it for say 6 months and then they all graduate, so then it's like you're the next to graduate, and so you graduate within like a year, but then you're still kind of a dojo boy for another 6 months or so, like for a little while. Like even though on screen it looks like you've graduated, in the system you kind of haven't yet. Like there's guys where you see them, they'll come back from an excursion, they have a new costume, they get a push, they get cool new music. What you don't see on camera is as soon as they get out of the ring, they're picking up guys' bags and carrying them back to the bus. Like they're still a young lion for a certain amount of time. Like there's really no set time. But I would say the system fully shapes you over the course of about 2 years, maybe. Like you kind of have a year where you're literally like a raw, like young lion match every night for a while. You go and do an excursion, you come back, and now you're a year and a half, maybe about 2 years in, and then you kind of fully graduate then. Like I think it's more of a checklist thing. Like you need to have your excursion, and you need to have done, a nondescript amount of time before that excursion, so that way you combine the training and the discipline with life experience, and then when you come back you put those two together, and then it's like, now I'm ready for the rainbow colored tights, like
yeah.
that's what.
And what this is one of this is one of my like screaming at the top of my lungs is like, you've got a really young wrestler coming out, and they've had their head shaved, they're in black trunks. Just put a mask on them, like let them work, and you're basically the guy for mask wear
Yeah,
from everything. I was like, firstly, it adds mystery, and you're like, which, like a bit like what's going on in 01 with Hayabusa. I don't know if you've sort of seen that, but they've put a kid's basically Hayabusa now. They've changed the name and they're
yeah.
acting like,
Well, I've seen that there's a new Hayabusa. I didn't track it so much.
yeah. But it's like, it's cool because you could kind of, if you really want to investigate, you can work out who it is probably. But
Yeah.
I quite like the mystery of it, but also the fact there's like, it gives a little bit more time where you've then got an extra stage to your career, because I would say the reason why you're able to work everywhere is because TJP was the launch pad, and I think everyone, the cruiserweight element from WWE. But before that, you were all over TNA, and I know you were in Ring of Honor as TJP, but like,
Sure. Yeah.
you were able to sort of
But it was different
go in and
things, Like
yeah,
Keiji Muto is not the same as Shining Wizard Keiji Muto,
yeah,
Like orange trunks, like, Keiji Muto is not the same as like Love Pro Wrestling, long tights, shaved head Keiji Muto.
yeah,
There's reinventions that I think, becomes necessary over time if you're a wrestler on a long enough timeline. But it's really important. The excursion part of the training system is really important because guys need life experience and they need to be around other successful professionals for the first, like, because you're sheltered in the dojo, and even
yeah,
when you're on the road and carrying the bags and sitting ringside and everything, you can watch all the Chonos and Hashimotos and Mutos and people all you want, but like you're still kind of sheltered until you go out in the world and like you're on an everyday schedule somewhere else and you see another person in another language in another country doing what Chono and these guys are doing, and like carrying business, like carrying main events, and you kind of learn from them and from being in these different atmospheres. And we're in a place where you're not having your hand held. You can't speak the language. It's hard to order food, you know, like that's like a second part of the system that breaks you and sort of like teaches you how to be like a man in the free world, you know? And
Yeah.
I think the tough thing about these days is that there's really no good place to do an excursion. That's the hard part. Like if it's not Mexico, it's like there's nothing.
Yeah,
Like,
and you know, I know the UK. You know, we got Yota Tsuji, Shota, and before that we got the Great Okan, who I've got to be honest. You want to talk about discovering yourself? His car broke down, and I don't know if you've seen any of like the social media footage, but he went in full Great Okan gear, did his full entrance like stumbling across along a motorway whilst they're waiting for the breakdown people to recover. I was
that sounds like Oka,
yeah. You're like, yeah, but it's like, yeah, that's the life lesson is don't get in a car with a poor wrestler where the car's beat up and. But I love. I think excursions are great, and my daughter, who would have been probably 5 or 6 at the, well, probably close to 5, met Shota Umino, and was just absolutely amazed by him because he was very out there, and he did have that confidence before it was beaten out of him when he came back. And you're like, no, that's something that the dojo system can sort of can't necessarily prepare you for. And I was like, so that's how I gauge whether I start. Just throw my kid at a wrestler. I was like, what do you think, child? And because I went to Liger's last match in the UK
great because he has the benefit of you know, it's a family business for him.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So he grew up kind of understanding that like you have to govern yourself that way. You know, like I think maybe other first generation wrestlers in that same scenario would be less comfortable than Shota. I think that's what one of Shota's gifts, I think, is that he has that life experience from being a kid in the business and kind of understanding that.
It's it's a natural charisma, and I think that's one of the things that sort of the wild thing is the dojo system feels like it beats it out of you. Is that would you say that's fair? Sort of you are. I mean, the modern one, shaved head and black trunks. Did you feel that
it forces a fight or flight mechanism for sure? But I really think that the excursion is what teaches you to come out of your shell. And like with Shota is he's one of my favorites because I feel like he's got a certain, I don't know, he's got a certain there's an edge to him inside that people don't see, and you see it if you know him, and it's like, man, like you want to let that out, you're just not letting that out. And then even though he looks charismatic, and he is to a certain extent, there's so much more of that buried inside that has not been let out. And I almost feel like, man, I wish they would have sent him to Mexico instead of Europe, because like I'm sure it was fun for him to go, but it's like going and just doing modern indie wrestling schedule and like not really being in like in the room with a top roster or like a really age-old system. Like it would have been better for him to be in a place where you're working 7 days a week and every night is a big arena. I mean, we're talking 3, 5, 10,000, 18,000 people every night, and you're with these professionals that like their living wage, their families and generations are raised off of their ability to do this craft, like real professionals. Like they don't just do a main event somewhere and then they don't wrestle for like 5 days and then they do an office job for 4 days during the week. You know what I mean? Like for him to have been if he would have followed around Mystico and Ultimo Guerrero and guys like that for like a year or 2 or something like that, I think that certain things inside of him would have like burst out way sooner. And
yeah, and I think
some
he
of it
was
is
put
still
with
hidden
Mox as well, and that's hard. That is very hard being with Mox, because it didn't feel like that's who he was, having seen him in sort of like a in that on his excursion. He felt, it's that there's like this, like you said, rainbow tights wanted to get out, and it's not. he
But it's just
wasn't,
also
because he
not
had a
like
leather jacket, and you're like, this is
it's
not
also just
you.
kind of low frequency, like if guys go to say Europe, or they go to like Canada used to be good too, but like Canada is like how Europe is, which they're both like doing American indies now. Like it's the old school systems is not what they used to be. You used to be able to go to Europe and do like camp wrestling and wrestle every day for as long as you're there, and like back in the day they had World of Sport, so like Tiger Mask could go there and be and have to be with these like full-time, like truly professional people that have learned their craft, and this is like their time is now, and like they don't have that there anymore in Calgary and Canada and like all these territories, that those don't exist anymore. So now if guys do those excursions, they're just kind of doing 2, maybe 3 indie shows in a week, and then just sitting in somebody's living room eating fast food and doing drugs or something. Like they're just kind of being dudes, and it's like this isn't for you to have your college off season. You're supposed to be in a place where you're working every day. And even in America, sometimes like when they would send guys to go do Ring of Honor, when Ring of Honor was not what it is now, and now it's a lot more of a proper like television company, and it's like, guys, you're still sending them to a place where they're not having a high enough volume of work, and they're not following around seasoned enough professionals, like people that are really like they've been through the fucking mud for a long time.
Yeah.
And it's like, so like back in the day when they would send guys to say WCW, okay, that's different, because now it's like you're wrestling in this big atmosphere. The entire room is full of people that have been making towns since the territory days, and like you're learning from like real ones. Now it's sort of like, it would be good maybe to send guys, like I know they would send like Uemura to TNA. That's pretty good. I feel like they should take the AEW opportunity and have guys go there, not as stars though. Like send them there to do undercard matches and be there where they're in an arena every single week. They're following Edge and people like that around. It's like, wow, this is what a professional is. This guy is a professional, and they learn like that. But it's like they will probably go there now and be like put into like a tournament belt type thing, and it's like, don't push these kids. Put them in the undercards. Like they have to learn by being kind of invisible a little bit. Like make them earn it. Make them earn their presence.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I think also the fact that they're only wrestling most of WWE, TNA, AEW, they are wrestling, it feels like, once a week. I know they've got countless TV products, but the wrestlers are. I just think you can. It's one of those things where you need to do you need to do repetition. Like you have to.
Say, like, just send them to Mexico, man. That's the only place that survived the time change, like the time warp and the generation. Like Mexico today is the same way it was 100 years ago. Like send them there, man. They'll learn, because they'll be out in that audience or in front of that audience every single night, and every one of those arenas is a proper arena, and it's just like these guys are full-time wrestlers that they're following around. They're not heavily influenced by the modern independent wrestling age and just things like that. Like these are old school systems, that Japan and Mexico are the only 2 places that are like that. So it's just like they need to utilize that more, I think.
Yeah, they need to come together. There's we're saying that New Japan's probably the last proper pro wrestling company that's not sort of Americanized or doesn't have that certain sort of lucha style. It has its own set style, and it tours. It is a touring business. It's not a TV product. It's and I sort of agree with that. I think it's really cool that it's readily available now. I don't know if you've seen New Japan World. I stopped subscribing for a bit because they screwed me over with the update. But I've gone. I joined since like 24. So I was on it. I was on it from like 2014. and I was like, oh my god, they've updated it. They kicked me out because they changed the way you did it. I was like, oh, I'm not going back. And I've just gone back for the podcast, and I was like, oh my god, like, where's the English content? And then I go into it as like, they've done everything by chapters, and I've got an option of English commentary and stuff, and they brought the breadth of everything there. And I stopped watching when I went back. I stopped watching anything that was televised, like modern wrestling, because I was like, this kind of has everything, and there's so much really cool stuff. I love. For me, Best of Super Juniors was always the really high point of how a year was going to be with New Japan. It feels like that's been put down a little bit. How did you feel as someone that's competed in it? How did you feel about?
Are you saying you feel like you almost feel like you can get a barometer for the company based on how the juniors go?
Yeah, because
that's interesting. Yeah,
because it feels like if there's a good Super Juniors, you feel that okay, that May and June pay-per-views are going to be really big, those big shows.
I could see
and
that. Yeah.
The G1's going to be exciting, and normally it means that if they've got a really strong junior division, when it comes to the bit that no one really talks about is like the barren November, December time in Japan, like you've got stuff to do, because I know, you would have been on those sort of the tag tours because you were basically the champions, the tag champs forever.
I think that's a solid perception of it. I never would have thought about it like that. That's interesting, but you're there. You're on to that, I think, because as the singles ones would go, and it's subjective, I don't like sometimes some years it's like, wow, this was a really good one, but then other people are like, it wasn't really for me, or this was really good and the previous ones weren't for me. So I don't know, that's like a subjective thing. But when you sort of have this general feeling like, wow, that one went pretty good, and then at least I know for the years that I've been there recently, the tag tournament was at times sometimes the junior tag league was even better than the singles league at times, but it felt like they both got better together. And I don't think that it's like the heavyweights felt they needed to compete, but I think that it made them feel like, wow, like the quality of everything is really good. So we need to make sure we're really good too.
I think it's that pace of the juniors, and but everyone talks about the pace of it, but actually it is just wrestling with a little bit more lucha flavor added to it. It's like, but you started seeing sometimes that would come in. I mean, I think the fact that they've opened ELPs, in the G1, I've been crying out. Kevin's probably sick and tired of me saying, Despy, he's got to come up to heavyweight, surely, because he's the coolest guy in the room, Like,
I don't think he wants to.
I don't think he does.
I talked to him about it, and he goes, "No, I'm a junior," and I'm like, "Now, but fuck, man, like."
Yeah.
The thing about it is like, if Rey Mysterio was there today, he's not a junior.
Yeah.
It is literally never about size. It's about who you are and what you mean to the audience and what it represents. So like when the parts of the office that were trying to push me towards open weight, they would point to that. They would be like, well, even if you're traditional, you think he's a little small or whatever, like, listen to the connection he has with the audience. Look at the merchandise that gets sold with United Empire because of him. Like, that was like their thing, was like, some things transcend size, and obviously experience. Like I can work with anybody on the roster, but like, so with Despy, oh my God, that's a perfect example. Like, he's the best guy in the company. Like,
It
so makes
cool.
So much sense to give him an opportunity to work with more of the room, and I think there's proof of concept. His match with Moxley at that Cork and Strong show that they did.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's incredible.
He's something else, and I've seen him. I've been very lucky. He's come to York Hall. I've seen him, and I was like, it just. But I mean, it's the mask thing. I was like, it's cool, but also, like, it's cool as hell. But the guy wrestles like.
But see, the mask, a mask alone can't yeah, I've seen some cool masks, but if the human being behind it, Despy would be cool no matter what. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah, yeah.
Like we've seen that mask get torn off, and he's just as cool strutting around covered in blood and smoke and sand and whatever as he is with this cool thing that's been drawn and created for him. Like that's the man behind the mask is, in his case. I mean, the man is everything.
Yeah.
You could dress him up like a fucking ice cream man, and he's the best guy on the show.
Hey, if that's what he's doing at WrestleMania weekend, and he comes in as an ice cream man, he owes you some money. That's a great, that's a great gimmick.
If he doesn't do it, then the Oswald will dress up like an ice cream man, and I'll do it. So
yeah. Although I think we're going, the Chikara lawyers may be on the line.
Oh yeah.
Did you ever do Chikara?
No,
I don't think you did. So I went to their King of Trios in so there's like a warehouse in the middle of Wolverhampton, which is not a nice place. I did not enjoy it, and I just was like, I went in and I was like, I feel like it was the first wrestling show where I was like, I felt like I was really outside, because I was like, this is just weird. I don't understand anything. Like I'd look around and all the fans are doing certain things and getting involved and all the rest. I just don't understand. And because you know, but I love some of the stuff that happened, like the ice cream gimmicks. I love the ants. The ants were pretty cool.
I got a chance to work with the ants in Ring of Honor. We did.
Yeah,
Kevin, that was Kevin's generation of Ring of Honor. We did
Yeah.
team Ring of Honor versus Team Ants. It was like me, Adam Cole, and I think Jay Lethal versus the Ants. That was a fun one to do. Shikara always had a really great creativity behind creating a universe for itself, you know, like with characters and everything. I never wrestled there. I learned how to do lucha in Mexico, not off of YouTube. But their character work is incredible. I always thought that was. I would be envious. I wish I would be as creative as they were, you know, with what they could create with such simple things, you know. Like it almost felt like Saturday morning cartoon level, like stuff, but it would be stuff that you were really like, they had a really great grasp on how to be those things and to really grab you, you know. And
I did try to get my kids into Chikara, because I was like, yeah, it's pretty cool. And what I really liked was they just wanted to watch Jushin Thunder Liger, and I went, yes, this is my offspring. Perfect. I don't need a DNA test. I've put up a Chikara DVD and Jushin Thunder Liger, and they went for Liger. I was like, done. They're my children. Oh, fact. Don't need the DNA evidence. Job done.
That's great.
But United Empire, I thought that was it was so you have to pick. It feels like you have to pick a faction when you do it, because it's like getting your own team, because there's so many multi-mans on a card. So when I started, I was Chaos, just because I was a big fan of Okada and Nakamura.
Kind of like an American watching Premier League for the first time. Like you don't live there, so who are you going to pick and what reason? Like who's going to be your team? And it's like, you're from Omaha, Nebraska. Who the fuck are you going to pick for an English Premier team? You know, and then it says a lot about them if they're like, oh, you know, Liverpool or Tottenham or whatever. Like it's like, why'd you pick what you picked? You know, but yeah, that's I thought the new age faction wars of Japanese wrestling is interesting, because it's like every unit has this personality and it transcends or translates into the fans' personality.
It may have gone too far with the House of Torture. Maybe. Is that a hot take, TJP? Have gone too far with the House of Torture?
I don't know. See, that's the thing, is like going back to the Shikara thing, like I love how in command of their what they are that they have. You know, I love that. It's funny. You know, like you said about your kids, like I wonder what my kids are going to like when they're older, if they even like wrestling. You know, they're young now. They're only 4 and 2. But like because like they'll grow up and it's like their dad, people think of me as like, oh, that's a wrestler's wrestler, like the good wrestling, you know. But me as a person, I actually fucking don't give a fuck about good. Like I don't like anybody that's has a best in the world gimmick. Like that's the I'm the best wrestler in the world now. This gen, whatever, you know. Like I could not roll my eyes harder at that stuff. I love Mantar. I love Duke the Dumpster Drosy. I love Doink the Clown. Like I love that, you know, like and so that's that I love those things like stuff that makes pro wrestling, you know.
Yeah.
And so House of Torture I love, you know. People wouldn't think it, I love it, but no, I mean the unit,
it's the dick jokes. You got to do the dick jokes, haven't you?
yeah, the units, it's the, you know, like I said, their energy translates to the fandoms. Like a buddy of mine, he lives in Japan. He's a big baseball fan. He's actually friends with Kevin too. We've all gone to baseball games together. But you know, he's a wrestling fan, of course, and we'll go to say a baseball game, and the Hanshin Tigers, the baseball team, their fans are very rowdy and loud and kind of obnoxious. They're very antagonistic. Like if you see them, which is very uncharacteristic for Japanese people, but like if you walk around outside the stadium, they're like taunting other fans and stuff like that, and like way overdressed in the team merch and things like that. And he goes, my buddy, he goes, Tigers fan, same, like LIJ fan. And I was like an LIJ fan is like that. Like that is their personality because that's the personality of LIJ. So then it's sort of like, you know, fans of all the other stuff, like it just makes total sense, you know?
Yeah. And well, we'll go into someone from a different country choosing a random team. I know you like basketball. You're obviously on the West Coast.
Yeah.
I know you're a Kobe fan, but I'm assuming you're LA Lakers just because of
Kobe? Well, I grew up in LA, so I'm a Lakers fan before being a Kobe fan, but those are together because of LA. Yeah.
So I'm similar. So I am. I don't know.
You're from LA.
No. Oh no. Yeah, man. Cool. Yeah. Can't you tell? No. So I'm a Portland Trailblazer fan.
Oh wow. Okay.
People think so. I went to a York Hall show, and I just look up in the balcony, and there was a Portland Trailblazer T-shirt. I was like, what? This is weird, and it's so weird. You will occasionally. Like I saw a Carmelo Anthony Portland Blazers jersey out in the wild in my small in my small town, and I'm like, what is going on? And so I was there for Dame and loved it. But you do pick a side, and I picked a really dumb side because PST
that's very
and
unique,
the UK time's just wild. I will never, unless I am up at like 4 a.m. to get an early train, I never see any of the Blazers games live.
But see, that's very that's unique. That's a very nuanced choice. See, I think like if I was to be in Europe and see that, I would think like, oh, that's actually pretty cool because it's so different and unique. It'd be like if you come to America, you probably won't see too many like football jerseys, soccer in what I'm saying. Like, but if you do, it's gonna be Man U, it's gonna be Liverpool. But if you saw Hotspur and you'd be like, why do you have that here in Chicago? You know, like what makes
and you're not Korean. That's the other thing. If you're Korean and you're wearing a Tottenham shirt, I know where that's
like if
on. I understand, but
if you saw a Mexican dude in Houston, Texas wearing a Newcastle shirt, you'd be like, why?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, you know so when I went on honeymoon, we did the whole west coast of America, and we started in San Francisco, and we went on a bike, going over the Golden Gate Bridge. So it's a miracle that we did have children, because that bike, I did not spend big money on that bike, and that seat was awful. And we're going down I can't remember the name of the town at the bottom of the gate, but we get down to the very bottom, and then there's just this rich, fancy, the type of like California tanned, wearing brand new Man City shirts, and there's a full family of them, and they're coming at you like there's like 6 of them. And I went, oh no, you've just you've just seen them win a Premier League, and you've gone and got the full kit. And over here we call them full kit wankers. And
Oh my God.
very rarely will you have the full kit wankers as an entire family. And
Out here,
they were.
Out here, we say we call them double merching. You can't double merch. If you got the shirt on, don't have the hat on. If you
don't have the shorts. The shorts is a choice, isn't it?
If you're double merching, that's no good. I double merch all the time. I don't give a fuck. I'm terrible at that. But yeah, like that. It's a Shane Gillis term, the comedian.
Yeah.
He goes, you can't double merch. You can't double merch.
It's true. It's true. But I've made Kev an Arsenal fan by me pounding away the good word of Arsenal. But when he finished third, so what I would do is anytime he would the Wrestling Observer awards would come out, I'd get him an award depending on where he would actually finish in the announcer gimmick. So when he finished third, I was like, well, I can give you a rude gesture when you're 1, and in the UK I can give you a rude gesture when you're 2, but I can't do anything for 3. So I just got him an Arsenal shirt with Kelly number 3 on the back. But for ultimate embarrassment, I made sure it was the player fit. So
oh my God,
it basically looked like a crop top, It's not going down.
A little too slim for a
little. I was like, hey, but your arms look amazing, Kev. Look at them coming out the sides. That's how you do it. You got. I learned through that method that you guys look absolutely jacked when you have a t-shirt a little bit smaller and you got the arms suffocating. Coming out. If only I'd thought of that. Although it would highlight the big round pouch in the middle of me. But so I like when I was looking at your career. I don't want to keep you too long because obviously you've got loads going on. But I absolutely loved the fact that the WWE run. I remember it so vividly, but yet I can't. I had kids as you were in, so I was watching it sort of as holding a child trying to rock it to sleep. Yeah. So I was watching, and I just thought the Nez element was one of the coolest things I'd seen. So sort of, the coins and the presentation, and I went, as someone that I've got 2 zappers, I've got a Nez in my loft, and I've got 2 zappers in case one breaks. Obviously, because you don't want to be caught short on Duck Hunt. And I was like, no, this guy is speaking the language of so many people, and I felt like it resonated.
Well,
a lot of people.
That was the idea, yeah.
And so smart and so cool. It was like it was one of those things where you're like, this guy came from the LA Dojo getting beaten up for ages, and then now he's doing this like really cool Nintendo thing.
Yeah, I didn't turn out to be a stone cold killer like Shibata. I have a human side that
he just destroys consoles. He's queuing up for the new console, and he's got a baseball.
The story, which we haven't told, but I feel like I will have to tell before I get off this, but about Yoshi Tatsu meeting the fridge. That story begins with me and Shibata being in the Tokyo Dojo on a night where it was empty because all the other young lions were doing a television talk show to promote the Young Lions Cup. So it was just me and Shibata in the dojo by ourselves at night. And he came and handed me a handful of Game Boy Advance games because he could tell I was bored. He goes, here, play these on this trip, because he saw I had a Game Boy Advance, but he was like, here, he had me like 4 or 5 different games. And so he is a nerd. He's a total nerd. He just doesn't let you see it.
He's a nerd that's made himself incredibly violent.
Yeah, he just doesn't.
No one's bullying that guy.
Yeah, that story begins with him giving me Nintendo games.
That's incredible. And I
Yeah.
can imagine that the Game Boy Advance is sort of the ideal console for a wrestler of that ilk, because it's
Well,
like,
you have to remember this was 23 years ago, so
yeah. I think
so
I've
it was
worked it out. I think we're the same age. So,
yes, we didn't have much to work with at that time. That was peak technology.
yeah. Well, no, all Advance Wars was basically it. And then when they bring out Advance Wars 2, you're like, well, that's my summer gone. I'm just doing that. So, and I don't know if you had the cable.
Was
Did you
that
have the
Game Boy
cable?
Advance or was that Game Boy Color? I can't remember which one it would have been around 2004.
I would have been the Advance.
Advance.
So you would have
Yeah,
got,
so yeah, it was Game
yeah,
Boy Advance. That was
yeah.
that was our iPhone 14 at the time, you know.
Then they were great. And I think there was I don't know if you've seen the Prince Devitt documentary they did on Irish TV, but it talks about sort of him having to go to internet cafes and stuff, and you're like, there's something quite nostalgic about it. And
Yeah.
how the Game Boy Advance has really hit me in the feels here.
Yeah,
It's really
I used to have to go and get, 5 minute at a time telephone cards and walk around Tokyo in the middle of the night to try and find a payphone to put a card in, get yelled at by my high school girlfriend until time ran out, and then I'd have to go back a mile or two to find that 7-Eleven that was open that I got the card at, get another 10-minute card, go back to that phone, get yelled at for another 10 minutes until time ran out. And then until I ran out of money, and then I said, fuck it, okay, then tomorrow I'll go to the internet cafe and write an email where I'll get a scathing one back, getting yelled at. That was life. Yeah, at that time, people don't realize, we didn't have anything. You had to there was no Wi-Fi either. We didn't have smartphones, so when you're in the dojo, there was no internet connection. There was no no cell phone, no nothing. You just sat around all day doing whatever.
And you don't, it's not, you don't speak the language, so I imagine it lonely. It could be pretty lonely, in the fact that
I used to just go and walk around for 12 hours. Just go take trains through the city and just go and just wander. There's nothing to do. There's no, there's nothing. We didn't have PlayStations in our rooms or anything at the time. Like not that they didn't exist. You could haul around your N64 or whatever, but it was like everything. The way of life that is now didn't exist back then. There was no social media. There was no Facebook to check. When I was there in 2002, there's no Facebook to check. There's no Google or YouTube. Like there's nothing to like that. No Instagrams.
And that's the other thing. Is like you're
kind of miss it, to be honest.
You're on a you're probably able to just sort of lie back on a bus and everyone else is sort of doing the same. What was the major difference? Were you touring around in the bus when you first were dojo, or were you strictly sort of around the Tokyo area?
No, I was on all the tours. Even when I wasn't on the cards, there's a lot of those tours I was on just as a young lion, and I would just be like watching, training before the show, carrying bags, and then I would just be ringside or something, just watching.
Yeah.
Doing guys' laundry. Nakanishi seemed to be. I ended up kind of being his young boy for a while. Sometimes you kind of get claimed by a senior, and it's like, okay, I have to hold his purse for all the time, So so if he would go out to dinner, go to a bar, like go to a hostess bar or something like that, go to a strip club, I'd be carrying his fucking bag and his like man satchel through the streets, and just like whatever he needed, and they'd hand me a bag of laundry. I'd have to go do it. And,
I think that's something that sort of keeps you grounded. And maybe that's where this longevity. I know before we started recording, we're talking about how you don't age. We are the same age. I've worked out.
Oh, really?
I was born in 86. Am I doxing myself? I feel like I might be.
Well, I was born in 84, so you're actually 2 years younger than me.
Oh, that's even worse. Oh, this is bad for me.
Yeah, I just turned 41 this last September.
You Yeah, not aged.
Me and LeBron are the same age. That's one of my favorite like sports facts is so every time I see the Lakers play and they talk about like LeBron's still doing this at 41 years old, how incredibly LeBron's going to retire soon, and I'm like, oh fuck, like am I supposed to feel am I lucky that I'm still doing this? Because I started wrestling before him. You know, I started wrestling almost when Kobe started playing. I started in 1998, so I started wrestling like 6 years before LeBron started playing basketball. So now when I'm like, oh God, they're making him retire basically, and I'm like, I have to leave now.
Different sport. It's fine. They're having to jump from a wooden floor. You've at least got the elastic ropes to jump off.
My ankles are fine. I land on my head. It's totally fine.
Hey, as long as the ankles are all right. That's the important thing. How are you going to walk around?
Yeah,
you know?
My legs aren't tired. I just I'm just, I'm going to have dementia when I'm 50. That's all.
Fingers crossed not.
God, I hope not, yeah.
It's only 9 years away. You'd like...
My wife tells me all the time, because she's 31, so she's a little younger. She's like, you're so old.
I have to. My wife's older than me, so we got the opposite issue. And,
so you could tell her she's. Well, no, I would recommend not doing that.
No. I'm very much keep married for as long as possible is my
wife, happy life. Yeah.
Oh, completely. That's what I'm about. I was You got it down. See, happy wife, happy life.
Well, it's a lot of telephone card and internet cafe arguments with in the past have taught me happy wife, happy life.
Yes. So. Speaking of happy life, I need to apologise for something. As a Brit, I need to apologise for Lord Gideon Grey. I'm really sorry about him.
Oh man,
you can't take him anywhere. I know you've had to, you had to slap that man around whilst he was yelling at you in gibberish. I do apologise. We're not all like that.
Giddy's great. I miss him so much. I miss hanging out with him and traveling with him. One time me, Alex Zane, and David Finlay inadvertently bullied him into buying a pair of Crocs. That was kind of funny.
Oh, that is brilliant.
Because all Alex Zane wore for like 2 or 3 years was these red Crocs that matched his costume. So he wore these everywhere. And me and David had a pair of Crocs, so we wore them one day just to like be like, hey dude, we're matching. Like we're matching. We have Crocs. And Gideon went to this local store that's everywhere in Japan called Don Quixote. We call it Donkey for short. And it's kind of like a weird alternative off the wall Walmart for them. Like anything you need to find, you could find there, including novelty items and crazy stuff. It's like the weirdest store, but they have everything there. And they have a clothing section and you can get stuff. And they have these off-brand Crocs, like Donkey brand Crocs. So Gideon went out and got Crocs. And the next show, the next night, this is why you got to work in an everyday schedule someplace. Like for people that go on excursion, they want to learn how to be a professional. You got to learn how to goof off 7 days a week in a different town. So he comes to the next show and he's wearing these purple knot Crocs. And he's like, hey, we're twins. And in unison, we all made fun of him. We're like, not only did you need to try and fit in, you went and bought off-brand Crocs. We made fun of his fake Crocs. And then he showed up the next day with proper ones. So he went out and got actual Crocs because we picked on him. And I remember, like, we were saying to each other, like, I can't believe we picked on him and made him get Crocs.
You know what I'm going to do? You know how a lot of people, you'll get the streamers. When you're going into the ring, they'll throw streamers.
Oh yeah.
I might throw Croc charms at him and just like.
Oh my god! Yeah.
I am gonna give him.
Yeah,
I'm gonna find out where he's booked. I've been trying to get him because I wanted to ask him on here because he talked about a guy that probably felt like I'm never getting to Japan, and then suddenly boom, not only in Japan, and if you don't mind me saying, in pretty much a really hot stable. You guys, United Empire was so incredibly important in
We had a
that
pretty
era
good
of New Japan.
we had a pretty
And
good 2 year window there. Yeah.
yeah, where
Yeah.
it was all about the stables, and you guys were, Os- Osprey felt like the they were finally doing the rocket ship on him, and then you had the belts,
We,
you had
we
the tag
got
titles at the same time.
we got lucky in a sense that it was really only a creation to give Will a direction, and in a lot of ways, I always kind of felt like when Will left, that it's almost like the group didn't need to continue because it was
Yeah,
really only made to kind of give him like ground him like in like this is what I am, because it never felt right him in like chaos or whatever. Like it just, I think for the first time, it's like okay, this is an identity for him. So now he really felt like a top guy, And so when
yeah,
he left, it was almost like, well, what's the, it isn't really needed. But then it was really lucky to get into that group because then everybody in it was so good, and so everybody started kind of like going and getting their own title and making their own pushes, and so then the group started getting really fucking good because it
yeah.
was like I think in the beginning they just thought, okay, we'll surround Will with some guys, but Will will be able to do this, this, and this, and then once we got started, it was like, wow, Will's doing this, this, and this, but like, okay, Catch 22's doing this, this, and this, and these guys are doing this and this, and all of a sudden it's like, wow, it's like this superpower team, which I don't think they intended, but
And I thought it was so cool.
Can't put so many good people together like that.
Yeah. Well, I previously said that I think one of the coolest things is that we're so lucky that Lucha Underground existed because we got Jeff Cobb from it, it was.
Yeah.
And I feel that he was so underrated in New Japan at the time because he was just able to have very good, solid matches with pretty much anyone, and he was that big sort of, every roster needs on in New Japan roster needs that big sort of Olympic wrestler. I'm going to throw someone around kind of guy.
It's a very, very unique, like his space is space that nobody else could really do, And I think what was even good is that he's so economical with his work. Like he doesn't do too much, and he does everything, all of his stuff. It's just things that can be done with everybody. And I think that that's what made you really couldn't have a bad night like in the ring with him, because of those things, because of
the G1, the G1 matches you would circle because it would be solid, and those tours. I mean, I can really, what I know because of the humidity and the amount of travel and everything around that time. How was it for Super Juniors? Was it because it wasn't in August, but I imagine it must have been fairly similar in the fact that you're probably beating yourself up more.
May's pretty bad. It starts getting hot like around the end of April a little bit, so May is pretty tough. Super Juniors was rough because it just felt so tightly packed. Like G1's tightly packed too, but I think G1 is rough in the sense that it's also just so long. Like it's like an extra week, there's like 4, maybe 5, sometimes like 6 weeks, it feels like. And Super Juniors they'll get it all done in 3 weeks, but it's like we'll go through that 3 weeks and we'll realize, man, we only had 2 days off, Like a lot of times it's not even a real day off. It's like a travel day. So you're just on the bus for like 6 hours or something like that. So that's what was hard about Juniors is that like, it just felt so dense. Like it was like,
oh man,
so then you just felt like you were never out of the ring. So that's a tough part about it. But otherwise it's fine. It's better now than it used to be back in the day. Because back in the day when it was like the Inoki era, man, it was fucking lawless. Every match would go like 20 minutes, and I'm not talking about junior match, like any match, like opening
the
match.
multi-man. Yeah,
you would do like match 2 of the night in a tag match, and you would go 25 minutes, and I was like, God, guys, we were just like killing each other for so long, and now it's a lot more concise because I don't know if like maybe the purist in me doesn't like it because it's sort of it sort of un-Japaneses it a little bit because it's like it's becoming Americanized in the formatting. Like matches will go 8-10 minutes. Even a big match in a Super Junior maybe semifinal might be like a 12-minute match, 10-minute match. But I also think it's something that was needed. And maybe overall in the wrestling culture, we should start getting used to being able to tell stories that don't require, like, I've never been a fan of, like, a match has never been better for me simply because, oh, they went 45 minutes. A lot of matches to me have been worse because they've been 45 minutes, like, and then you look around at contemporary peers of our industry and it's just like a UFC title fight, 5 minute rounds, 5 rounds. This is a 25-minute fight. Like it's not going to go more than that. So like, why do we have to do 40-50 minute match? Like what's the point of doing a 42-minute match? A boxing title fight, 12 rounds, they're going about a half hour. Like that, I feel like we can get closer to these 10-20 minute windows. And if those sports can tell these epic stories naturally within 20-25 minutes, like how can we not do that in the same time frame where it's like 10-15-20 minutes? Like it should.
Well, I got the timings for Wrestle Kingdom 10 and they were pretty much 12 minutes across the board.
Yeah, it's been that way probably since this whole generation's been that way, because when I did the Super Juniors in 2011 it was like that. Like they were like, times were like, okay, this is 10-15 maybe 12 minutes, 8 minutes. Like it was like, I was like, wow, these are a lot more reasonable times.
Yeah.
And
imagine going into Japan and doing 5 minutes. It's not I do like that sort of a good 10-minute match in Japan is probably just as good as it, they don't have to go. And I know
also
probably
like really,
there for the end of the Okada, the sort of the big Okada run where he was putting in those 40-45 minutes and just absolutely effectively killing himself for the company, and you're like, maybe give him like a 10-minute title defense
like
here and there.
You could have done that in 18 minutes, like you could have done that in 22. Like you didn't need to do 45.
Yeah, and it's hard, but I think one of the things
there's an old school barometer to it, because that's how a lot of our previous generation people were like, oh, I want an hour, I want 45 minutes. And I've done those matches, Josh Alexander and I did 68 minutes or whatever in that Iron Man match for TNA, and I get it, like, but I just it's excessive. It's not necessary anymore, I don't think. There's nothing in entertainment sports in the world that is like that. I mean, a football game, 4 quarters of 12 minutes, American football.
Football.
Yeah. Basketball, same thing, like you have 4 quarters of, you have your 10 to 15 minute like windows depending on what the sport is. And so it's like these games will go 48 minutes, whatever, like on field. I know there's commercials and things like that, but like, just especially the combat sports like a UFC and other things, like being able to do it in 20 minutes ish, I think that's enough, like, and guys, I think guys' work will get better too, doing it that way. And audiences will get enough out of it, but also be excited for perpetuity. Like nothing feels like, oh, I'm kind of over it for a while. That was a long show, like it kind of helped that, and I get a kick out of like short spectacles too, It's like watching a Mike Tyson fight from Tyson's prime. It's like, wow, this thing is not even going to go half a round. But then, and so it's like you see like there was a Brock Goldberg match in WWE one time, and it was like watching a Street Fighter game, like a round of
It was I know the one you mean, yeah.
Yeah, it was like bell, German suplex, a counter, another German suplex, and then it was like, holy shit! And I don't remember which one it was, but I know you know the one I'm talking about. I mean, this match probably went like 6 minutes or something like that. I don't know. It was a locker room sellout. I mean, we were standing on tables in the locker room, jumping up and down, like, oh my god! Like, we had, like, everybody loved that match, and it's like, I don't think you need to do it every night, but sometimes I think it'll lend itself to having more of those where it's like, wow, this is really unpredictable, and that's cool.
Yeah, and that's sort of, and the G1 was like that for a period of time. Where you were, Shibata and Ishii just went boom. I'm gonna absolutely smash into each other, and we're just gonna beat each other up. And it went for 8 minutes, but it felt like 20.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
in the fact that and it's not like they're cramming loads in. It's like they are telling quite a story of like, I just want to
Yeah.
beat this guy. And I think that's one of the issues with
Owen
Ishii.
Hart and 1-2-3 Kid at King of the Ring, same thing.
Oh yeah.
That's I mean that match only went a few minutes, but man, it was so good.
But also sometimes matches going on for the duration of a show as well. It's all about, you have to pick you pick your time, and you don't do it often. It's like, I love a count out finish, but I don't then love the fact that you are like, every match is like,
I had one of the worst
is he
finishes
gonna go
in PWG history. Nobody liked it. I got counted out on the top rope.
Hey, that feels like a them problem.
They should have never said do whatever you want, because that's what I want.
But PWG is like a really cool example of like where you're on the cusp of something really cool. And what was, now you're not going to have the same experiences as me, because I was outside of the ring very much, being the spotty teenage boy going, oh, have a picture please. But Ring of Honor was incredibly hard to get hold of, so a lot of like your work there was so hard. But the minute like PWG, like weirdly, I know everyone in the States sort of moans as like, oh, they do the show and then we may not see it, and I was able to get them on Blu-ray. I was loving life. I was seeing you getting counted out constantly. I was loving it.
Yeah, PWG was pretty. It felt like the circulation of it was pretty good. I mean, that's why it had such a big following. Because it was able to get around. People like the preview videos had a following. People loved those like music videos. To this day, sometimes I'll see them posted as like retro content on Instagram, and I get a kick out of watching them.
Oh, I need to get my Blu-ray player out and fire them up. Although, like they obviously got the hard cam on the white wall.
Yeah.
And as someone that's done just a basic film course, you're like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen for a white balance. Like, awful. Yeah. What are you doing? But it is so. It felt like a party, and just absolutely wild. The fact that I remember of Manic and Suicide, it felt like a huge thing. You was on free TV over in the UK, and then the fact that like it obviously a different type of party than with PWG, but it felt like something was happening, and you felt part of it. And I feel like that's kind of your career, is like you've managed to make something feel very, very like just suddenly pick people up and like, whoa, what's this? And like, well, it's amazing.
I've gotten very lucky and fortunate in timing in a lot of ways. I think that is an example of me just being lucky in certain things, and sometimes I'm unlucky too. I mean, I've made bad choices of where to go or what opportunity to gamble on and things. Trying to get to WWE, and that's how I ended up homeless. Like sometimes you swing and you miss, but that's just if you're around for long enough, both sides of the coin will land at certain times. So,
but I think
really the thing.
You're also able to live with, and this is probably why you do look so good, is you don't have that aging regret that people have, where it can really grind you down. Like, oh, I wish I did that. Why didn't I do that?
All day long, But no, I don't know. I mean, I thought about this recently because I'm getting but more like thrusted into more of this like facilitation and mentoring type roles and coaching and different things. And one of the benefits and unique things about not just doing it so long, but breaking in when I did, is I came in this weird transitional time because I'm a 90s guy. I started in 1998. So all the guys that were around when I started, wrestling was a lot older then. Men were men back in the day. I mean, being the same age, like when we think of a 30-year-old man, we think of people like probably that would be like our dads. And it's like they work with hands, they got a mustache, they have a drinking problem, like these are men. Like they can fix something in a car. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and that's not what men are like today. And I don't mean that in like a derogatory sense, but if I see a 30-year-old guy today, he's playing Fortnite. Shit, I'm 41 and I play Fortnite. You know what I mean? Like, we're not our dads. And so when I broke in 1998, men were men and the business was older. And the elder people in the locker room were 90s and 80s guys that were like from the territory days, So like, I broke in with that. I lived through seeing them not take good care of themselves and work a certain way, live a certain way. And then the next generation after me was learning, the first generation to learn not to do that. So then those habits were less and less. And then the next generation after that, now we're in the 2010s, is like way greener and much more, better off. And now we're in the 2020s. And yeah, I feel like the maturity level of men now is much more childish. However, their way of life is so much safer, and their way of working a lot of times is also much more safe or just palatable for the human body. And so I have this benefit of bridging the gap between this unhealthy generation to like healthier and healthier and healthier. And like, I see people that didn't age well. And so because I didn't make the same mistakes, because I was witnessing their mistakes, it's like I'm aging better than them, and people are going to age better than me. Someday there's going to be dudes like that are 60 years old, and it's like Tom Cruise still doing action movies and doing his own stunts. And he's like, 64 years old or something like that, maybe?
Something like that. And he's
like, Jesus, dude,
Yeah.
Like,
well, he's a man who's able to, you want to talk about rugged men? I don't care. Tom Cruise has got most of London shut down for him to do a stunt. That's a real man.
Yeah, that's crazy.
You get London shut down, you're a real man's man. Like it's and you're doing something with a plane and doing flips and then crashing into the Thames or whatever. It's insane.
I broke in with Lucha Libre too, so that's the other thing is like, the Lucha Libre culture, these guys, they stick around forever. I mean, these guys get to their 70s and they're still doing 3, 4, 5 nights a week, and they're very technically sound. So that's also why I kind of became a technician. I joked earlier today with you about this. Like, I only became a technician to take care of myself, and to make it easy. But like the reality is like that really does extend your career. And a lot of these guys that I looked up to, that I modeled myself after, Blue Panther, Solar, these guys, like they get to where they're in these later stages of their career, and
there's a lot of throwbacks as well. They're coming through.
They're still able to do what they do.
Yeah,
and to me, that's incredible. I was just talking with Alex Shelley. He's a long-time friend of mine, and he was insisting to me. He goes, "Dude, we're going to do this till we're 80. We're going to be doing chain wrestling matches. You and we're still going to be doing the indies or whatever someday when we're." And I'm like, I kept telling him, like, there's no way, dude. But I'm like, I don't know. That's kind of sort of how it's headed for some of us, But I don't know. A unique time for me showed me how to kind of navigate this a little bit better than the guys before me. So I'm actually grateful for them to have, guided me when I was so young.
And you're doing, I know that when we were talking, you were in Mexico. Is that somewhere, obviously being in Los Angeles is sort of perfect place to go,
yeah. Yeah, needless to say, there's a lot of lucha. That's the only reason I broke in at 13 is a lot of lucha libre gyms were around in Southern California, and they don't, when I first was trying to get trained, I didn't know, how to do this. Again, this was the 90s, like Prince Devitt said, there wasn't much when and that was the mid 2000s. Now I'm talking like almost 10 years earlier than that. So I didn't know how you start, right? Like there was no internet for me to look this up in like 1995, 96. Like it was primitive. Like I could barely get into a chat room and they're just talking about Monday Nitro or whatever. Like, And so, I wrote physical letters to the wrestling schools in like PWI magazine. Like I wrote to like Dean Malenko's school or to like the Larry Sharp or something like that. I wrote one to Shawn Michaels, and it's kind of ironic. Later in life, he'd become a mentor for me at WWE. But like, I wrote to him when he was going to open his school in retirement, and all these places you had to be older to go there. And so I was only 13, and lucky being in Southern California, these lucha libre gyms are, that they're, if you could walk, you could wrestle. So they're like, we'll give you a shot. But the downside is you had to sink or swim. They treat you like a man at 13. They're not going to treat you like a 13-year-old. And so I got to, I got to do that, and I'd go across the border and wrestle in Mexico as a teenager, and get held at gunpoint and robbed by the police. That's fun.
Yeah. This episode is sponsored by the Mexican Tourist Board. Please do visit Tijuana. It's tip your waitress.
Yeah. I mean, it's scary. It's a weird way to get started, but yeah, I mean, Mexican wrestling is the only reason why I did start doing it so young. It's really the only reason why I'm doing it so long too.
Yeah, I mean, CMLL feels it's a lot of it has this huge buzz again, and it feels sort of a very sort of throwback. And then you got Crash as well, and there's a lot of promotions there.
Yeah.
And there's also some crossover in Japan. I know you did I think a little bit of work with Glee, but there's some.
Yeah.
It feels like Japan's ready for like this new sort of lucha influx.
I mean,
outside of Fantastica Mania.
Yeah, it's been a while since those prime Michinoku Pro days in the mid '90s.
They're so much fun. They are more fun than Chikara. I've said it. I'm sorry. Sorry.
and they they gave birth to the inception of Dragon Gate, in a spiritual sense and all that. And I feel like Dragon Gate is sort of like kind of being restorative now. Like they're sort of like kind of like, I feel like people have it felt like people didn't know what Dragon Gate was for a while now, like after it kind of went away, now it's
I was there when obviously Pat getting released and just going on an undefeated rampage with the title from Dragon Gate, and I was like, this is actually really cool, the fact that someone's gone out of their way to just absolutely talk Dragon Gate, and it was huge buzz. And I feel like you're right. Wrestling Universe is a fantastic like product, because they've got so much there. Like the Marigold's on there, you've got Noah, but also there's so much there.
Yeah.
That it feels like Japan should be open for business, and maybe TJP still open for business, and should give him a call, Noah. He would do a very good job for you, sir.
We've talked
I'm determined to I'm determined to see you in Japan again, and doing some of the lucha libre stuff
trying to get me to come back. The schedule is just tough to match, and
yeah, well, they're a little bit that they don't. So I don't know huge amounts about Glee. Only that it feels very sort of sporadic in the fact that it is very much there's not like a scheduled tour. It is, but
it is a little bit. They're sort of stuck in this in between space where they're big enough to kind of try and get into where it's like that everyday touring type system, and not just be like a spot show type of schedule. But I think that they're trying to kind of get that foundation set to where they can really build that schedule. And they have more shows than people think. They just don't quite have a tour going. But no, they we keep going back and forth on scheduling, but I'm having a little bit more trouble these days with, an old boss calling me back. So we'll see how that goes. Speaking of lucha, there's that that little old AAA company. So there's that too,
Oh, yes, very, very nice.
which is
They're
associated with GLEAT. So that's kind of nice too.
yeah, and
Uh,
well, I know GLEAT's probably the biggest company they're associated with, but I think they're also associated with the WWE, I believe,
yeah,
small
yeah.
company
There's
running out of New York.
yeah,
So
that little territory out of Connecticut. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. They're doing spot shows, and they're on Fox Sports in Mexico, which I know doesn't like when you caveat it, you say Fox Sports, everyone go oh, and then like yeah, Mexico, and but it's huge, and I think there's been that culture shift. So yeah, if it's available, I mean you're sort of perfectly there, the culture. You've been in WWE as well. You've been in Mexico plenty. Yeah, I'm all. I'm on board this. Noah, you missed your chance. You missed your chance. AAA, sign this guy up because I
Well,
got you know.
I heard Noah takes a few phone calls from that Connecticut territory every now and then. So
Yeah, sometimes they've got a Nigerian giant they need to send,
yeah,
and then you have a friend like Kevin who will message you saying, "I'm telling you, kid, Omos is going to do it in the Rumble. Put money on it because you could bet on it." And I put like a pound on it, and it's his little way of ribbing me of like, I've just got this is it's why hey, I would do it to him if I had the same power. I would, yeah, a fair play to him. But I've taken up like an hour and a half of your time. I'm so sorry, but I've
okay.
enjoyed chatting about what is effectively so much fun. Like it was less fun for you because it was all ouchy and hurty, and you got various injuries.
Before we go, let me. I feel like so for those listening and watching, this conversation got started because I was asked about this Yoshi Tatsu story, which I haven't told yet, but I'll tell now. The only reason I came on this thing is because the first conversation I had here with Joel was, I feel like you got a lot of good stories like this Yoshi Tatsu story that I heard from Kevin. So after an hour and a half of talking about all this fun stuff, I'm going to finally tell the story.
Yoshihashi is main event in this episode. Put it down.
Not Yoshihashi, Yoshi Tatsu.
Oh, Tatsu.
Yoshihashi,
do you know what? I keep doing
saint.
that. He is. I keep doing that. It's awful.
So Yoshi Tatsu, who I know as Yamamoto, because I knew him before WWE. And like I said, we had an incredible class, and he's actually an incredible wrestler. It's just that he ended up being in a class with a lot of really good wrestlers, so he ended up sort of being the donkey of the group. And there's a lot of funny stories with Yoshi Tatsu, some of the shorter ones. For example, the legendary tornado slap is a funny one. That's a short one. He was getting scolded one day by Yano, who I said, Yano, Shibata, Tanahashi were the class above us, so they were like our older brothers. So he was getting scolded in front of the dojo one day during a workout, and Yano slaps him. And he's scolding him some more, and he slaps him again. And he's scolding him some more, and now Yoshitatsu's getting tired of getting slapped. Yano wanted to give him a third one, swung for the fences, but Yoshitatsu, just out of reactionary, cringed and ducked. So Yano missed completely, and Kerry Von Erich did all the way around and then smacked him again. Just did a full 360 and was like, "You motherfuckers don't ever duck me again." So there's legendary spinning slap. Is pretty good. Another time, Shibata banned him from sleeping in the dojo, so he had to go. He went and made a bed under the ring because the gym is in a separate area, so he had to sleep under the ring one night. Gato, who was just a regular member of the roster at the time, always loves to work out at night. This is another short story. Just to paint the picture of what I used to see daily with Yamamoto. So Gato comes in at 7, 8 p.m., something like that, to go work out. Usually the dojo's completely empty. He goes in there, turns on the lights. And from underneath the ring skirt, Yamamoto peeks his head out and greets him. Otsukaresama desu, and then goes back under. Which Otsukaresama desu is just just the respectful greeting for your peers. Scared the shit out of Gato. She's like, what? It's like a troll came out of the ring and went right back under with his lantern. So Yamamoto's a funny guy. The first time I ever met him, he was part of a young boy group that came to the Inoki Dojo with Makabe, who was our first dojo master in LA. And Makabe at the time did not speak very good English. And so he needed a translator, and Yoshitatsu speaks pretty good English. So Makabe is telling him to tell me, Rocky, Danielson, Ricky Reyes, we're the Inoki Dojo first class. He's trying to have Yamamoto translate, well, this is what New Japan is, and it's all about. This is literally our first ever day in the dojo. And so we're standing there, we're watching, and he's translating Makabe's words. And he starts talking more and more and more. Makabe he doesn't understand English, but he knows that now Yamamoto is adding his own stuff to it. So, I mean, like a fly taking off the wall. He just looks and punches him right in the face. Yamamoto out cold, face plants right in front of us. And I looked at Rocky and I said, wow, this is where we work now. This is crazy. So Yamamoto has a history of getting into funny trouble. So the refrigerator story. All the young lions were preparing for the Young Lions Cup. I'm the only gaijin in the class, so I'm not going to do this talk show. It's only for the Japanese natives. So they all go. Nagao, Anzawa, Goto, Taguchi, and Yamamoto, Yoshitatsu. And they're all dressed up nice because we were always supposed to, black suit, white shirt, black tie. But Yamamoto is dressed in cosplay, like Dragon Quest. He has a turban and aviator glasses on and a staff. And he walks out the door, and I said, I knew that was going to be trouble because Shibata really didn't like him. And Shibata didn't see him leave. So later on, Shibata came in to give me those Game Boy Advance games, and we turn on the TV and we see the talk show that they're doing this panel. They're going to talk to the Young Lions and promote the Young Lions Cup. So they go down the line. They introduce each one by one. Yoshitatsu is last, and you see black suit, black suit, black suit, black suit, Dragon Quest cosplay. And Shibata didn't say a word. He looked at the screen, he laughed, and he looked at me, and he smiled and pointed and walked out of the room. And 30 minutes, 40 minutes go by. I could hear the taxi pull up out front, the squeaking of the brakes. So I know the other boys are home now. And I see the front door open. I'm sitting in the living room. And I see Taguchi come in, take his shoes off and walk past, go upstairs to the dorm rooms. I see Goto come in. I see Nagao, who's very tall, come in. And I see Anzawa come in. And as Anzawa's coming in and puts his shoes down, I see Shibata make a beeline from behind me. He swim moves him. He swim moves him like American football and moves past him and goes just out of sight of the door. And all I hear is this. And all I see is Yamamoto faceplant in the shoes. And then Shibata grabs him by his turbans and robes and drags him into, before the dojo was ripped apart and had to be remodeled because of the storm, the flooding or whatever. We had a room by the kitchen that was a tanning bedroom. But it's like, this is like, the dojo is very old fashioned, like Karate Kid, like, paper window doors that is very like out of like a Japanese movie, like the Wolverine movie. Right. And so he drags him in that room, slides the door shut. And for 20 minutes, I heard him screaming at him and fist to skin, just screaming in 20 minutes. And the door slides open. Yamamoto crawls out, doesn't walk out, crawls out. And he's now only in his underwear. All of his cosplay has been ripped off of him. And he has not scabbing, but when you get like a strawberry, you fall on the pavement, you skin your elbows.
Yeah, gray sort of raw.
You get it's red and rashy, like it would bleed, but it's not bleeding. It's just you. he
Yeah.
had those on his head from being like grinded against the walls and just being beaten. And he goes to go upstairs, and Shibata grabs him, pulls him back down, and walks him into the kitchen and introduces him to the fridge. He opens the freezers as stacked fridge and then freezer on top. And he opens up the freezer and puts his head in the freezer and just slams it against his head several times. And then shoves him out of the room. And then Yamamoto finally starts crawling up the stairs, and Shibata kicks him one more time. He face plants on the stairs, and he crawls up, goes to bed. Longest ass kicking I've ever seen in my life. Took 30 minutes to kick his ass. I was watching and listening to this for half an hour, and as soon as he goes upstairs, Shibata turned around. I'm still sitting on the living room bench where I've been all night, and he walks over and he picks up one of the games. He says, "This one was my favorite. You'll like this one." And it's just like it never happened. It's like he didn't just spend the last hour kicking somebody's ass. Just said, "This one's really good. You should start with this one." Yeah.
Oh man, that's incredible, and that's one of the best things that you can possibly imagine coming out of a dojo. Is someone's gone. I know it's into business for himself, but Yamamoto doesn't feel like he goes into. He just doesn't think like everyone else. Sometimes it's the impression I get from him.
He's a mixture of innocence and mischief. You know, like he's not a malicious person, but every now and then he'll do something that it's like you knew this. How do you not know this was a dumb idea? And it's just like it just didn't compute. He makes innocent mistakes, you know.
Yeah, he's got a natural self-sabotage about him, and I would say
you also have to remember too. This was at this time we were almost lucky. If that class wasn't excellent, disciplined wrestlers, that could have been any of us, because that's how the dojo was governed. I mean, there's
high
been
standards.
there's been a lot of even worse, stories of that sort of thing happening. And I feel like we were very lucky to be in a very high bar class. Like we were all very good for the system. It could have been different, and even as good as we were, I mean, I've been hit plenty of times, you make a mistake, or you ask the wrong question, or, you don't express something with enough respect. I mean, I've taken a stick to the leg. I've taken a smack to the face. I've taken, but luckily I didn't take those. That was reserved.
Yeah,
that was reserved.
That
for
sounds like
else.
It was. Yeah,
yeah.
It was plus. It was Dojo Experience plus. He got the. He got the express pass.
He got the premium package. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for telling the story, and it's been amazing.
Podcast is that story.
Yeah,
so there it is.
Yeah, it's been amazing chatting to you. What I know, I've had a little look. I'm a card collector. I noticed there's you've got your own cards, PWJ cards, I think, something like that.
That just is coming out now. That was kind of a surprise. I went and did a show for them, and they have they do these cards, and they asked if they could release a thing for it, and I didn't know it was going to be such a cool thing, but a lot of people have been asking now, and we're super excited. I'm not a card collector, so I didn't know, but I guess it was a pretty cool thing for them.
Yeah, it looks amazing. And where can people see it? I know you're busy. He's everywhere, but hopefully AAA, call this man. Noah, call this man.
Yeah,
he's
just
wealth of knowledge.
Actually, so it's not live. By the time this is uploaded, literally as we jumped on, AAA announced my match for the next WWE AAA show will be a contendership for the Cruiserweight title. Remember that old thing?
Yeah. There's an action figure with you with it. So
yeah. So by the time this is seen by people, that'll be more, I think, common knowledge, because they just announced that today. And so from now on out, that might be the only place you could find me is on WWE AAA programming. So
So, well,
I'll try to
fingers crossed. But
I'll try to see if I can work my way to Noah. Maybe. I don't know.
yeah, that's the dream. They need. Hey, if anyone's going to get them to bring back the green ring, it's going to. I'm sure you can do it. You can get them to bring it back. It'll be fine. Yeah.
I'm United Empire. They got to put it up for me.
Oh yeah, throw it up. Yeah. Well, thank you very much for joining me, and I really appreciate it. So this is Strong Style Stories.
No, thank you very much, Joel.
This is TJP. TJP, and he survived the dojo.
Well,
I mean, Yoshi Tatsu survived the dojo as well.
Yeah.
But you survived and thrived. So congratulations, and hey, anytime you want to tell some stories, we're here for it.
Yoshi Tatsu got the last laugh. He made it to WWE first. He
did.
Hit it big before anybody else, and
he beat you to it.
I remember Inoki came across him. Yeah, Inoki came across him. Nakamura didn't go yet. I didn't go yet. You know, Goto and Taguchi weren't being pushed yet, and Mr. Inoki saw him as a guest at a WWE show, and he goes, "Wow, the last duck ended up winning the race." And I was like, you know what, dude, he earned it, man. That's like
slow and steady
really
wins the race.
It couldn't have happened a better way. I thought that was great.
That's awesome. Well, thank you very much, guys. I really appreciate you coming on and listening to what is effectively an awesome episode. So thank you so much. Bye.